How do you calculate pain and suffering damages?
Yeah, there's no good way to answer that question because there is no method to calculate it. It's interesting because even I know the Florida jury instruction about pain and suffering specifically starts off by saying there is no specific way to calculate this damage. Generally, as lawyers, our job is to try and calculate some method to convey that to a jury. So, for example, we either ask for like per hour, or we ask for per day or per year or whatever, some amount of money, and then calculate it out by how much longer that client has to deal with those issues. But in general, that's what the jury system is for. The judge essentially says to the jury when it comes time to calculate that this is in your wisdom as members of the community to make that determination. And there's no like calculator, there's no factor, there's no scorecard or that you get to use. It's just got to be what you guys think is fair.
And does all kind of, I guess, pain and suffering fall under this, even if it's maybe emotional and not something that's like, I broke my arm. That's something people can literally see, but you don't necessarily see an emotional toll.
Yeah, pain and suffering is a form of non-economic damages, but there are other forms of non-economic damages too. We sometimes say pain and suffering to mean all non-economic damages, but it's actually one portion of it.
Okay.
We have other things like mental anguish, loss of enjoyment of life, that are also part of the non-economic damage calculation. But typically in Florida, we don't separate those out on a verdict form. So the jury is asked how much is the non-economic damages in the past and how much is the non-economic damages in the future. And so they pick those numbers, but they don't say this much is for pain and suffering and this much is for mental anguish, et cetera.
Do you find it's tough for a client to like put a monetary value or see a monetary value maybe in court on a perceived suffering, if that makes sense?
It's always hard for the client to deal with because they're dealing with the pain themselves. I think it's sort of just a disconnect if you have the person that's experiencing something versus the person that's watching someone experience something, they're going to value that experience differently. And so I always tell clients, remember, it's not how you value your pain and suffering. It's how six strangers in a jury box evaluate it.